11 sacks in 8 previous meetings. That is twice as much as anyone else in the league has sacked Luck. So definitely something to watch in this game. And for more, here's Randy Moss.
Frank Reich has been a part of amazing comebacks during his days as a quarterback, first in college and then, of course, in the NFL. But he says those are nearly as satisfying as what he has experienced this season with the Colts in his first year as an NFL head coach. As a player, he explains, those were one-game comebacks. This year, the Colts have embarked on a 10-game comeback, and now they are just the third team in the Super Bowl era to make the playoffs after a 1-5 start. Reich says that the Colts have had an outstanding week of practice as they prepare to face their divisional rival Texans for the third time this year. He expects a few new wrinkles from the Texans, and he'll have some for them as well. But he said the vast majority of that game will fall under the category of we know them and they know us. On the injury front, defensive end Tyquan Lewis, wide receiver Ryan Grant have been ruled out. But Reich said he is very optimistic that center Ryan Kelly will make it back into the starting lineup. Now in Houston, here's James Palmer.
Well, thanks, Randy. DeAndre Hopkins has gone over 100 yards in each of his last 3 games. In the game before that, though, had just 4 catches for 36 yards. That was against the Indianapolis Colts. But maybe he can get a little freedom in this game on Saturday if the Texans can get wide receiver Kiki Cutie back, who's been out since week 12 with a hamstring injury, and that maybe could alleviate things for Hopkins a little bit. Cutie's been a full participant this entire week. Bill O'Brien believes it's more of a positive sense that he plays in this game as opposed to closer to him not playing. He is a game-time decision in his mind and questionable for this one. To the top receiver on the other side of the ball, and Colts wide receiver T.Y. Hilton, who had 199 yards receiving against the Texans in week 14. What I'm told by a couple of defensive players is this: they want to limit those X plays, they call them here in Houston, those big plays where T.Y. Hilton can get chunk yardage at a time. Tyrann Mathieu said the one time we see Andrew Luck make bad decisions is if we can get pressure and hands in his face at the line of scrimmage.
Chargers just 2 days away from their rematch with the Ravens, hoping that Saturday's matchup goes better for Phillip Rivers and Melvin Gordon than it did 3 weeks ago. Defense also needing to improve in the department of stopping Lamar Jackson, and that is something that our MJ Acosta says the team is focused on.
The Ravens are still very fresh in the Chargers' minds, and today Gus Bradley spoke about the challenges they face in going up against Lamar Jackson yet again. Specifically, Coach says there's been an uptick in quarterback runs over the last 2 weeks in Jackson. Coach says this is exactly what they're expecting more of now that they're in the playoffs, and he says they'll be ready for it. But we also know that Lamar can sling it, as we saw in Week 16 when he set a season high in passing yards against the Chargers. So I think the best bet here will be for the Bolts to keep Jackson contained in the pocket, forcing him to throw, and thus utilizing those secondary weapons in Derwin James and Desmond King. And we can't forget about that two-headed monster in Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. This is going to be an intense matchup from 2 very recent opponents.
It is an intense matchup, and for more on it, let's welcome in Cynthia Freeland, our analytics expert, whose model played this game out 20,000 times. We'll find out tomorrow on Game Day Pick'em which team wins more often. But I am curious to know what the pressure points are here. What aspects of the game seem to sway the model one way or the other?
Well, you actually saw it in their first matchup, but pressure between the tackles on Phillip Rivers is going to be a key in this one. You saw him in that Week 16 matchup under pressure on almost 44% of his dropbacks. That led to 10 points total. They hadn't had any games under 20 points this season, and it really mutes their strength, which is their wide receiving core, and the depth and efficiency of those wide receivers kind of added together as a unit. If you can't pass the ball to them, it's not going to be a big strength for you. But then you got to go on the other side of the ball, and passing in this one also becomes an issue because when you look at Lamar Jackson, he's been inconsistent in passing. We really don't know what we have with him. Since Week 13, he has a 56.3% completion percentage. That ranks 31st. So if the Chargers jump off to an early start, it's going to be really hard for them to come from behind. They've actually only been down by 8 points. That's the most he's been down in any of his 7 starts. Now, good news for the Chargers. They do average 14.3 points in the first half, so fast start, and they're getting Melvin Gordon back and Austin Eckler. And you're also going to see that maybe not so banged up Keenan Allen.
A lot of things to watch for there. That is the Chargers-Ravens game. I know you've run numbers on all of the other games this weekend as well. and the games to come after that. And your model tells you that the Chiefs are the best team with the best chance to come out of the AFC and win the Super Bowl at 16.2%. You've got the Patriots next at 13.5%. Then a break from the seeding here. You've actually got the Ravens with a greater probability to win the big game than the Texans, who are the 3 seed. The Ravens are the 4 seed. Why is that?
So when you look at how you model, you look for kind of historical comparables. And the Ravens have the number 1 total offense and the number 1 total defense and the number 2 scoring defense. That configuration is a really big advantage. And if you look at the Texans, yes, they've got a great defensive front, but they're vulnerable in the passing game. Teams can sling the ball against them where they can't do that against the Ravens. So the matchup against pass-happy teams is going to be a lot tougher than those if you face the Texans.
Interesting. Okay, can you stick around so we can talk a little bit about the NFC?
You know what? I think I can.
Okay, make some time. Thank you very much. Baker Mayfield nearly ended the Ravens season last Sunday. They've been looking good, but boy, it was touch and go there. He didn't get it done, but his performance was good enough to earn him Pepsi Rookie of the Week honors for the 7th time this season. Threw 3 touchdowns in the game, bringing his season total to 27, which set a new rookie record previously held by Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson. Mayfield also became the first quarterback selected number 1 overall to finish his rookie season with a 90-plus passer rating. Still ahead, James Jones is getting pretty good at breaking NFL news. First, it was the Aaron Rodgers contract story. Now it is incriminating photographs of